On the 15th of June, India and Chinese militaries engaged in a conflict. The clashes took place in eastern Ladakh's Galwan Valley. Both India and China have suffered significant casualties. This is actually the biggest ever military confrontation between the two armies in over 5 decades. The Indian Army stated that 20 Army personnel, including a commanding officer, lost their lives. On the other hand, China didn't disclose its numbers. Indian radio intercepts indicate that China lost 43 of its men, whereas U.S. intelligence pegged the number at 35. Most experts believe that this incident is not one-off and a long-drawn tussle is on the cards. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes how India can change its military posturing to counter China. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by the free-to-play military vehicle combat game War Thunder. We talk a lot about military vehicles on this channel, but what about trying them out for yourself? In War Thunder, you can choose from more than 1,200 playable vehicles from the 1930s to the 1990s and go to battle on more than 80 theaters of war. You can fly aircraft, helicopters, drive tanks, and command ships of all types and sizes, which have been carefully recreated from their real-world counterparts. It's available as a free download on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One with cross-platform support. So grab your friends and give it a try. All viewers of Defense Updates that register using the link in the description below will also get a free premium tank, aircraft, or ship and 3 days of premium account time as a bonus. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, QSD, also known as the Quad, is an informal strategic forum between the United States, Japan, Australia, and India that's maintained by semi-regular summits, information exchanges, and military drills between member countries. The forum was initiated as a dialogue in 2007 by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan, with the support of Vice President Dick Cheney of the US, Prime Minister John Howard of Australia, and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh of India. The dialogue was paralleled by joint military exercise of an unprecedented scale, titled Exercise Malabar. But it was unable to sustain momentum as China expressed concerns about what it saw as an attempt at containment by like-minded democracies in the Asia-Pacific, and some quarters in the Indian strategic circle believed that peaceful coexistence with China was possible. It's time India plays a more decisive role in consolidating the Quad at a strategic level. There are several countries in Asia that are friendly to India but have disputes with China. These countries have expressed interest in buying weapons from India. For example, Philippine military officials had indicated last year that they're interested in acquiring BrahMos missile. Philippine Army spokesperson Ramon Zagala has said, "The Philippine is interested in acquiring this type of missile as it will strengthen our coastal defense operations." According to the Philippine news agency, PNA, Ramon Zagala gave the statement during the goodwill visit of 2 Indian warships to the Philippines. Viewers may note that INS Sahyadri, a Shivalik-class guided missile frigate, and the anti-submarine corvette, the INS Kilton, visited the Philippines on the 23rd to 26th of October. During the visit, officials led by Major General Reynaldo M. Aquino toured the INS Sahyadri and were briefed about the BrahMos missile. Similarly, Vietnam is known to have expressed interest in several Indian weapons, including BrahMos. Just like China has armed Pakistan as a counterbalance to India, India needs to do the same and provide weapons support to these countries. A tactical nuclear weapon, TNW, or non-strategic nuclear weapon, is a nuclear weapon generally smaller in its explosive power. These are designed to be used in battlefield situations, in contrast to strategic nuclear weapons, which are designed to be mostly targeted in the enemy interior away from the warfront. There is no exact definition of the tactical category on the range or yield of the nuclear weapon. The yield of tactical nuclear weapons is generally lower than that of strategic nuclear weapons, but larger ones are still very powerful, and some variable yield warheads serve in both roles. India has been mum on the development of tactical nukes, and it's thought that it's not actively pursuing these. It's paramount that India starts developing these so that it can thwart any large-scale armor thrust from the Chinese side. A variable yield weapon could be very useful in this scenario. For example, the US is deploying B-61 Mod 12 freefall bomb, which has dial yield capability that can limit the extent of the nuclear reaction inside the warhead to lower the explosive force. The weapon can be configured to have an explosive power between 5 to 50 kilotons of TNT, depending on the situation. World's oldest and world's most populous democracy must come together. US and India have taken some steps in this regard. In 2018, these countries have signed an important agreement. The Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement, LAMOA, allows them to use each other's land, air, and naval bases for repair and resupply. It was a major step toward reinforcing defense ties. LAMOA simplifies logistic sharing. The U.S. Navy plans to deploy 60% of its surface ships in the Indo-Pacific in the near future. Instead of having to build facilities virtually from the ground up, as in Afghanistan and Iraq, the U.S. now has the benefit of using the tremendous Indian facilities. The U.S. have a large number of bases around the world, and this will be strategically very helpful for India. COMCASA is another such agreement. COMCASA, or Communications, Compatibility, and Security Agreement, enables interoperation between U.S. and Indian military. Before the agreement, the United States had to remove advanced communication equipment from all military platforms sold to India, such as the P-8I. For example, the United States had to place less secure temporary systems on Indian units so the two sides could communicate during bilateral exercises. With the signing, these restrictions are not needed and communication is much more seamless. But there's still a long way to go, and India and the US need to smooth out the wrinkles and move to the next level when it comes to sharing advanced weapons technology and intelligence. India has declared nuclear no-first-use policy and has developed a nuclear doctrine based on credible minimum deterrence. In August 1999, the Indian government released a draft of the doctrine, which asserts that nuclear weapons are solely for deterrence and that India will pursue a policy of retaliation only. The document also maintains that India will not be the first to initiate a nuclear first strike, but will respond with punitive retaliation should deterrence fail, and that decisions to authorize the use of nuclear weapons would be made by the Prime Minister or his designated successors. India's Strategic Nuclear Command, or SNC, was formally established in 2003 with an Air Force officer, Air Marshal Asthana, as the Commander-in-Chief. The Joint Services SNC is the custodian of all of India's nuclear weapons, missiles, and assets. It's also responsible for executing all aspects of India's nuclear policy. However, the civil leadership, in the form of the CSS, Cabinet Committee on Security, is the only body authorized to order a nuclear strike against another offending strike. The National Security Advisor, Shiv Shankar Menon, signaled a significant shift from no first use to no first use against non-nuclear weapon states in a speech on the occasion of Golden Jubilee celebrations of National Defense College in New Delhi on the 21st of October 2010. A doctrine Menon said reflected India's strategic culture, with its emphasis on minimal deterrence. In 2016, India's Defense Minister Manohar Parrikar questioned the no-first-use policy of India, saying, "Why should India bind itself when it's a responsible nuclear power?" Keeping in view the increased threat perception, India may need to update the doctrine and remove no-first-use policy. This is especially true since the third and most survivable component of India's nuclear triad, nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine armed with submarine-launched ballistic missile, is still not mature enough. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and Kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.